What's going on, good people? It's Will. Tonight I want to go over holster setup and how to set up your holster to maximize your EDC or your concealed carry, right? For me, my philosophy is to carry the largest gun that I can hide. Nothing against the subcompacts, the 365s, 43Xs, Hellcats, and all the guns that fit into that category. But for me, I just prefer a bigger gun, especially with my hand size. Those single stacks are really hard to hold for me. It's just uncomfortable because they're so small. It feels like I'm holding a popsicle. So for me, typically the smallest I'll go is a compact size, which I'm a Glock shooter, so that's a Glock 19. But more times than not, I'll be carrying a 17, which is a little bit bigger. And then there are some days where I'll go even bigger and carry a 34, which is essentially it's a long slide version of a Glock 17. But that's just personal preference because I have so much or so many rounds through that gun that it just feels like home. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to go over is ride height. All right, so if you're not familiar, ride height is the relationship of the gun to your belt or to your waistline. So I'm going to put in my strip of belt here. So what you can do with most clips, you can adjust them up or down, right? So that affects your ride height or how high the pistol is going to sit or low it's going to sit on your waistline. Pros and cons with that. So the higher the pistol is, the easier it is for you to get or establish your strong side grip or your fighting grip, right? Because you have more space between the top of the belt or the top of your waistline or waistband and your clothing and the front strap of the grip, right? So you have this space here. As that pistol goes higher, that space gets bigger. Now, if you have the pistol sitting lower, that space is going to get smaller, so it makes it harder to get your grip. On the flip of that, the lower the gun sits down, the easier it is to conceal because more of the gun is in your pants. And I'm talking about inside the waistband carry. I don't really carry outside. So there's some pros and cons. So when the gun is higher, you'll have more ability or it'll be easier to get your fighting grip. When the gun is lower, it'll be harder, but it'll be easier to conceal. Also, if you have a really short gun, some people have an issue of the gun wanting to tilt forward because the center of mass of the gun is way up here now because the slide is so short. So there's some pros and cons with that. I prefer my ride height right about where you see it. If I flip it around, if this was my belt and I needed to go to my draw, I have no issue getting my hands in between the space of the belt and the front strap of the pistol. So that's about where I set mine up. But again, it's personal preference. Put it lower if you want to hide it easier. Put it higher if you need more space, if you have big hands. The other thing you'll notice on this particular magazine, this is my running holster. You see that it can be adjusted right or left. You want to cant the pistol. I carry appendix, so I always want it perfectly vertical. I don't prefer to have it left or right, but you could make it a little easier to conceal by tilting it down a little bit. So with inside the waistband carry, the part of the gun that really makes it hard to hide isn't the slide length, because that's in your pants. It could be, you know, a foot long barrel if you could fit that in your pants and be able to sit. But it's the length of the grip. So it's this distance here that makes it more difficult to conceal a firearm. So a shorter grip is going to be a little easier to conceal than a longer grip. Also, the width plays a role, but the major factor is really the length of the grip and not so much the width. So there's a couple things that you can do to assist with grips that are a little bit longer. One, you can have, what you see here, a wing, or some holsters call them a claw. This is a Stealthgear, and this is a tier 1 concealment. So this also has, I don't know if they call it a claw or a wing, but how that works is as you put your belt on, see the wing is, let me put it this way, the wing is underneath, so the belt actually pushes on the gun. So if you're looking down at the gun and it's in your pants, as you tighten up your belt, the belt puts pressure on the wing and it pushes the grip towards your body. Again, this is the part of the gun that's the hardest to conceal, but what it does, it pushes that against your body to make it a little bit easier to hide. Some people like their wing, some people don't. I prefer a wing more times than not because I feel like, again, I carry bigger guns, so it makes it easier for me to hide that full-size gun. A Glock 19, typically I can hide even without the wing, but it does make it a little easier with that wing. Now, there's another way that you can get that same effect, and that's with a wedge or excuse me, some sort of pad, and different companies call them something different. So this one on Tier 1 Concealment, they sell a pack of them, right? And they're different sizes. So you essentially just clean off the back of the holster, and then they just stick right on. There's already an adhesive, and they stick on. So what happens is the gun will be oriented this way, and because that's sticking out, let me bring it down. Because that's sticking out, it actually pushes the gun in. Okay, so again, it's making it easier to hide the top of the gun because it's pushing it back in towards your body. Now, there's another way that you can achieve that same result without actually having anything on the back of your holster, and that's with the angle of your clips. So this is a traditional clip. And then here's one from G-Code. Oh shit, my bad, I hit the camera. So if you can notice, the one from G-Code is angled. So you can see it's not vertical, right? So that angle pretty much does the same thing. So when the gun is on your belt will be vertical that way, and it pushes, let me get this, sorry, I'm trying to line this shit up for y'all. So it pushes the grip back into your body, all right? Just because of that angle there. Now, these are really extreme. The ones that came on my Tier 1 Concealment are angled, but just not to that degree. That's pretty aggressive, but it does really push the top of the gun into your body. Now, body type will play a role into that. Depending on your body type, you may or may not like that. For me, it's not a big issue. I prefer it to be pushed back because, again, it makes it easier for me to hide a larger gun. Now, you may notice that some of the holsters here, or even with the mag pouch, have a single clip and some have dual clips, right? Most of mine have dual clips. I think this might be the only holster I have right now that has a, yeah, because the other one broke, has a single clip on it. Now, if you do go with a single clip, I do recommend getting a clip that's wide. You see how wide this is? If you were to use a single clip like this, while you could do it, typically what will happen is it'll make it a lot easier for the magazine to, it'll make it a lot easier for the holster itself to kind of wiggle right and left, all right? Because this just isn't that wide. So if you do go with a single clip, I do recommend getting the wider ones. I also prefer tuckable clips. So what that means is if you had a dress shirt or something like that on, you still could tuck your dress shirt behind the clip and still have your concealed carry holster on. So for example, if I grab, since these are angled, it's easier. So these are angled, so it's a little easier. So you still can tuck your shirt behind here. So this will be on your belt, and you still can tuck your shirt behind here. So you can tuck your shirt in your pants and still conceal. Now the clips will be visible on your belt, but you still could do it. Now, a lot of times the single clips, this one's actually tuckable. So you see there's space behind it. A lot of times the single clips similar to this there's two screws right at the top right here, and it's just bolted right to the holster, and then you cannot tuck it. So that's something to think about. If you go online and you see a holster that has a single clip and then there's two screws right above it, typically those are not tuckable. There isn't any room to put any kind of fabric behind it. I'll hit the camera again. And then on this one, you can see there's space behind there. All right, so you have another clip type that you can use that is really good for when either you don't have something on that has belt loops, you're not wearing a belt, or you don't even have a drawstring. So all the clips that I have on my holsters will also work when I'm wearing sweatpants or anything like that. For example, when I'm running, I don't have belt loops when I'm running. I just have a drawstring, and this works just fine. The same thing, I use that from time to time. So what you can use is an Ulti-Clip, and I think they make them now as well to actually go on the belt, the bigger ones. But this can be attached to your waistband without belt loops, or without a belt rather, or even without a drawstring, or even ladies that decide to carry in their purse. You could attach this to one of the pieces of fabric inside the purse, and then it'll secure your holster. That way when you go to draw, your firearm is where you want it. So what I'll do is, it's a pair of shorts, so I'll just put it on the pocket. So we'll go in, then it just clicks down. All right, once that happens, I don't want to rip my pants, but it's not going anywhere. So if you were to draw, you're not going to have any issues drawing your firearm, and that's not going anywhere. If you want to take it off, you just simply pull up on it. It releases the tension, and then you'd be able to take your holster out of your purse or off your pants. So Ulti-Clips are a really good option if whatever you're wearing doesn't have belt loops, or you just don't want to wear a belt, or it doesn't have a drawstring. All right, so you may have noticed this this mag pouch with the Gorilla Tape on it. So actually what I did on this is I made my own wedge on the bottom. So I basically just took a plastic bag and I rolled it up, and then I put the tape over top of it. I was planning on using this when I run a little bit, and I wasn't sure if the foam pad would really hold up with me sweating so much. So this was a better option. But now that I decided I'm not going to carry a spare mag when I'm running most of the time, I think I'm just going to take one of the extra wedges that I have from Tier 1 Concealment and just put it on the end of here. But it works just fine. So what it does is, because I've built up the material here, when the holster or the mag pouch is sitting on my, let me turn it the right way, when it's sitting on my waistband, it gets pushed that way or into my body. So with this, I can actually put a 33 round Glock mag and conceal that with absolutely no problem. One, because it gets tilted in towards my body, and the second thing is because, I don't know if you noticed with the clip, I have it canted, so that does two things. So it puts it at an angle there where it's not as tall now because it's not going straight up. It also puts me at a more biomechanical advantage here because I don't have to break my wrist as much in order to reach it. So you see some of the better sidecar holsters that have the holster here that's connected with the spare magazine. They'll have their magazine angled a little bit to make it easier to draw. This one's angled even more, which makes it really, really easy. I know some of the competition shooters know exactly what I'm talking about when you have that mag pouch at 12 o'clock. Almost everyone cants it like that or even more to make it easier to grab because you don't have to bend your wrist in order to do that. So this is really good. This is a Vedder Magtuck holster with the homemade wedge. That'll cost you $19.99. You want to order one of these. All right, so last thing, I've had some people ask me why I prefer a separate mag pouch and a holster. This is my normal EDC here, Tier 1 Concealment. I don't know if this is called a Xiphos or Xiphos, whatever it's called, and my mag pouch. Well, I guess they're on this side that way. But a couple of reasons why I did that. One, it gave me a little more flexibility because if I didn't want to carry the spare mag, the holster wasn't going to be as bulky. You see here, it's one piece of Kydex that they folded over. So they didn't do the pancake thing where they put two pieces. So if you do that, you have to have additional screws over here, which makes it wider. They folded one piece of thick Kydex over, which reduces the amount of material that you have. So this is a lot smaller than wearing a sidecar if I'm not wearing, that spare holster or magazine over here. And I know some of them do detach, but even then they're still wider than this. So that's why I went with this. I'm a minimalist sometimes. Sometimes I am not a minimalist. And then also with the spare mag, when I do want to run it, it gives me some flexibility as to where exactly I want to put my magazine. If I want to bring it around the side a little more or bring it a little bit closer, I don't have that flexibility if this is one unit because it's attached. So the company determines where my magazine goes and I just have to deal with it. With the separate unit, I can either take this away and not wear it, or I can wear it. And then when I do, I can adjust it where I want. And then also, like I said, this allows me to adjust the angle. So it could be straight up and down like that. I could even have it in that way if I wanted to. I don't know why I would, but all the way over to where I have it in that angle. So for me, that gave me the best amount of flexibility to really fit it to my body type and what I'm wearing for that day as well. So that pretty much sums it up. If you have any questions, go ahead and hit me below in the comments. AR-15, the classic speed,